Imagine your daughter walks into a changing room and finds a biological male already in there. Not because the law requires it, because politicians decided the law doesn't really apply to them. This is real. This is a choice being made right now in parts of Britain. Welcome to Politics and Principles, where we don't just discuss politics, but the principles that should be driving political decisions and actions. Today, we are diving into a troubling trend. Politicians who seem ready to override the law itself and the basic principles of integrity that are supposed to hold our system together. Let's get into the details. The Equality and Human Rights Commission guidance is now in force across England, Scotland, and Wales. The guidance is clear. Toilets, changing rooms, and other single-sex spaces must be used according to biological sex. Not feelings, not self-identification, biological sex. Yet Angela Rayner and sections of Labour, the Lib Dems, and the Greens appear content to let councils simply ignore it. 6 London boroughs have already said publicly they will not enforce it. Some Labour MPs are backing legal challenges to overturn it. Others brand any attempt to apply the guidance as transphobic. This is bigger than tone. This is a failure of integrity. And failures of integrity are exactly what costs politicians the public's trust. But let's start with Rayner's own record, because this pattern did not begin with bathrooms. She bought a former council house under the right to buy scheme at a substantial discount. Later, sold it for profit and faced repeated questions about whether she had correctly treated it as her main residence for tax purposes. Rayner was cleared by the police and HMRC. Then Rayner's biggest scandal. While serving as Deputy Prime Minister and Housing Secretary, Rayner bought an £800,000 flat in Hove. By placing her stake in her constituency home into a trust for her son, she paid the standard rate of stamp duty instead of the higher second home rate, underpaying by around £40,000. She admitted the error, referred herself, and resigned when the ethics advisor found she had breached the ministerial code. That is accountability working. But it arrived after 3 pads. Rayner was already the story. Constituency house, taxpayer-funded Grace and Favour flat in London, and a seaside property, while her government raised taxes on second homes for everyone else. That is a personal consistency test. Now the same test is being applied to something that affects millions of women and girls. 2 facts come first. Biological sex is real, binary and material. Every woman and every girl has the right to privacy, safety, and dignity in spaces where they undress or are vulnerable. That right is not optional. It is cancelled by someone else's identity claims. In toilets, changing rooms, and similar facilities, biological sex takes priority. Calling that hatred is a deliberate distraction. Protecting women's and girls' dignity and safety is the minimum required by reality and by law. It also protects children of both sexes from being forced to share intimate spaces with biological males, regardless of clothing or self-identification. That is the standard the guidance sets. That is the standard integrity now requires politicians to meet. Here is where opinion ends and the integrity problem begins. The guidance followed the Supreme Court ruling that sex in the Equality Act means biological sex. Labour was in government when that ruling landed. If they disagreed, the proper route was clear. Bring legislation to Parliament and change the law. They did not. Instead, 135 MPs, 69 of them Labour, signed a Commons motion asking for the guidance to be blocked, knowing the government would never schedule a real vote. There was no fair parliamentary fight because Labour made sure there never was one. Councils are simply being left to opt out on the ground. A former EHRC commissioner who helped write the code and said it plainly, the guidance does not create new law. It explains how to comply with law that already exists. If you dislike the law, change it. Do not ignore it. Even the EHRC's own chair called the council pushback performative. That is the integrity failure. They say they believe in equality and protecting the vulnerable. As the party in government, they are bound to enforce the law as it stands. What we are getting is quiet non-enforcement dressed up as compassion, while the only democratic route that could actually change the law sits unused. Labour's position remains incoherent. Many act as if sex is a feeling that can change by declaration. Yet they will not put a clear law before Parliament saying people can declare a new sex at will and access the matching spaces. They know how unpopular that would be with parents and with women concerned about safeguarding and dignity. So instead, we get quiet defiance and accusations of prejudice aimed at anyone who notices biological reality. What actually needs to happen is straightforward. First, the legal challenges already underway must run their course and be enforced, not stalled. Campaigners are taking councils to court. That process needs backing, not obstruction. Second, councils must stop the performative non-compliance and follow guidance that is now in force. If a council genuinely believes the guidance is unlawful, the courtroom is the place to test that claim, not a press release announcing they will ignore it in the meantime. Third, put the issue to an actual vote in Parliament, on the record. Not a backbench motion everyone knows will never be scheduled. Let the public see exactly where every MP stands. The guidance is in the force. Public bodies that ignore it should face legal challenge. The law is not optional. Women's and girls' dignity in single-sex spaces is not a negotiable extra. Angela Rayner record already raises serious questions about consistency and standards. This lengthens the list. If you accept that biological sex is real and that women's dignity matters, say so clearly. Principles are not slogans. They are the standard we measure politicians against. If this matters to you, subscribe. Because the next time a politician tells you they stand for equality, we will check whether their actions match.